All right, so we're going to find the derivative of f of x, and we do so by using our limit. And I'm just going to figure out what f of x plus h is, because that's helpful. So f of x plus h is going to replace all of the x's in the original expression with x plus h. And once again, you've got to multiply out the x plus h squared. So I think at this point, like I've said before, if you haven't figured this out and know it by now, then you're not putting in the time to actually multiply it out every time, and you're just relying on me to do it for you. And I want to make sure you guys can multiply this out. It's really important that you can recognize what x plus h squared ends up being. It just saves you a lot of time. So we've got our f of x plus h, we've got f of x, and now we can just substitute in. So to find the derivative, we're going to do the limit as h approaches 0 of f of x plus h. Now f of x plus h, we figured out, was 9 minus 1/2 x squared minus xh minus 1/2 h squared, and then minus f of x, which we know is just 9 minus 1/2 x squared, and that's all over h. And then again, we look for things that are going to add up to 0. Without rewriting this, I could, if you have trouble with this, go back and watch some of the previous videos in the previous lessons and forms, because I do actually show this step in between. But I know that 9 minus 9 is going to be 0, and I know that 1/2 x squared minus negative 1/2 x squared is also going to be 0. So I just saved myself a little bit of time there. So I have the limit as h approaches 0 of negative xh minus 1/2 h squared. And then I go ahead and factor out an h. All right, so I factor out an h. I get negative x minus 1/2 h all over h, and that's great because I have my giant 1. Once I get rid of that h in the denominator, now I can plug in h into my expression. So I'll have negative x minus 1/2 times 0, which just ends up being negative x. So our original expression, f of x, was 9 minus 1/2 x squared. The derivative of f of x is just negative x. And again, we're going to start there in the next lesson.